back in the element, back in front of this camera and at the iPhone. I actually have the night off, and it feels pretty damn good. Now, I'm going to be honest, I have the night off, so therefore I'm enjoying a couple of cold ones tonight, or something like that. But anyway, I guess this is a video response to two people. One person, my dear friend Heather Jack Luck 4, finally catching up on all of your videos. I'm getting through all of yours, and then I'm going to go over to Matt's channel and catch up on all of his. But when I was watching your vids, I stumbled across this one called regarding death and who should watch, wherein you've introduced me to yet another user, Christine Peace, sorry. Wait, I'll just check right now. I got my computer in front of me. I'm not used to having a computer in front of me. For those of you that don't know, I've been working 2 jobs, 14, 15, 16 hours a day, and I finally went and got a smartphone so I can check this shit out while I'm on the run. But let's see, Christine Peace. Anyway, the basic topic at hand is, well, we're looking at 9/11, we're looking at the sanctity of life, and we're looking at the dignity of death, and wherein do we draw the line between death as being private and death as being public? Now, there are multiple angles from which we could come at this. I mean, there are so many tangents we could look at this particular issue, because there are a great many, and rightfully so. I'm not going to talk about the psychological element. Heather did a great job in her video, and I believe that Christine very accurately described the personal element, wherein there are moments in our life wherein we should be able to choose whether those moments are to be shared or not. Now, to some degree, do I believe that 9/11 presents, shall we say, both aggravating and mitigating circumstances? Sure. Why? Because 9/11 was, and I'm going to be honest too, I avoided the whole 9/11 topic, but this is now like the 3rd video I've made on it. Most of you noticed on 9/11 I wasn't on YouTube, and I was nowhere near the media, and it has a lot to do with some of what Christine was talking about. And a lot of what it has a lot to do with what Heather was talking about too, wherein we've had these images battered into our head, but I'm going to come back to that later. Coming back to this idea, though, of the public and the private death surrounding 9/11, was that sure, individually, these people held private lives, and individually, I'm sure they would have loved the choice, or their families would have loved the choice, but considering the magnitude of said event, it was a wound to America's soul. Alright, this country hasn't been the same since. And people may blame whoever they want to blame. I know the explanations run the gambit. I'm going to come back to that later too. But in situations like this, I just find it hard-pressed for a family of a deceased individual from the 9/11 event to say, we don't want the images shown. Because in a weird, wacky sort of way, we were related to everybody in the World Trade Center. It's like the 6 degrees of separation. A lot of us, from the far reaches of the United States, and in some cases the world, knew people that were there shortly after 8 o'clock in the morning and shortly after 9 o'clock in the morning. One of my friends was a janitor in Tower 2. He still hasn't recovered because he worked the floors where one of the planes struck. And he actually swapped days with one of his best friends because there was something that he had to take care of, and his friend died. And he's still just warped in his head, he will still talk about, it should have been me, it should have been me. So, the connection, it's hard to say, public, private, the choice of the family. Yeah, ultimately it would come down to that if it were my opinion. When it comes to, shall we say, the more detailed video, wherein you could distinctly make out individuals, name an individual jumping from a window, And in no way do I want to see any of this. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of it. However, and this is the big however, and Heather kind of touched on this a bit. When it comes to the use of the footage, that's where I have the problem. This actually ties in what you're talking about, Christine, right? You're talking about Fox replaying, the entire event, play by play, as it happened on that day. And you partially nailed it on the head. You said they're doing it for the money. People watch it, and there's ad revenue and things like that, but I would say there's a more nefarious purpose as to why they're playing the footage, why we see these images every 9/11. And this might piss some people off too. I'm just going to warn you. I might as well take a sip right now because I'm going to piss people off. What happened shortly after 9/11? Shortly after. And you had Bush out with his megaphone, soon they will hear from us too, and yada yada yada. And you had Congress, forget the party lines. The Capitol Tower, seeing God Bless America. What happened? We had declarations of war. We had the Patriot Act. And these were almost voted upon unanimously, yay. We voted away our freedom. That's why I get so pissed off when people say the terrorists took away our freedom. No, they didn't. We have to look at the broader context. This harkens back to a video I just made. The classic 9/11 question, why would they attack us? How could they attack us? Why would they attack civilians? Well, if you look at the contextual history, it was never about ideology. I mean, that's the number one answer 9 times out of 10. Oh, well, it's because the fundamentalist radical Muslims think that, the West just shouldn't exist. That's the cop-out. That's the easy out. That's the one, that's the pulling of the wool over the eyes answer. Ron Paul, even though I disagree with 99% of what he says, but agree with his 1%, said it best. It's like, when you do what we've done abroad, especially in the Middle East, when we consider the Middle East, when you look at what we've done there, the writing was on the wall for a long time. We knew this was coming. This, is why I support the use of imagery from 9/11. If we use it as an educational tool, if we disallow the use of it as a generator of ad revenue, a generator of unfounded nationalism, what I mean by that is that, again, they play these images so that you get that patriotism pumped up. God bless America. Who can we shoot next? Run Iraq, run Afghanistan, Libya. Who can we go after next? That's what it's about. I'm surprised, and I got to look online for this, but I've never seen a poll wherein maybe we've had sticky moments with regard to legislation, say cybersecurity, renewing the Patriot Act, troop surges, this and that. If there's a lessening of opposition to said measures after 9/11, considering the footage, considering the play on the footage, considering the fostering of nationalism, if there's a drop, and there's less of a resistance to said legislation, and I'll bet you $1 million, even though I ain't got $1 million. I'm drinking Bud Light for crying out loud. I ain't got no $1 million. That people are more apt to say, hey, the JTTF, that's a great idea. Patriot Act, I love it. And a troop surge, well, we got them in Libya, Afghanistan, and Iraq. Why don't we move a few over into Saudi Arabia? Hell, in Syria, man, it's ripe for the plucking right now. That's where I got the problem. And I think that's what they're doing. They're using it to foster patriotism so that, the theater may continue. Now, if we took imagery from 9/11, and we showed the truth, and I'm not talking truth movement truth, I'm not talking reptilians with thermonuclear devices and thermite that brought, none of that nonsense. That's bullshit. And the truth movement, they're no different than those they oppose. They use fear-mongering and dogma to brainwash people. But I'm talking about showing the real truth, the truth that our government has even admitted to. The various operations that have gone on throughout the Middle East, throughout the ages. I mean, for crying out loud, it's documented. Who gave Saddam Hussein his first anthrax sample? His first VX sample? Samples he used against Iran in the early 80s. We did. And why did we give it to him? Because we were in opposition to the Iranians after the post-1979 coup, and the Ayatollahs coming in, and the whole the Tehran hostage incident in 1979. We were bitter motherfuckers. So here's Saddam, here's some little white powder and some kinky chemical shit, and why don't you go throw it at him? And then 9/11 comes around, and we wonder what the fuck. Why did it happen? Now, if we took the images of 9/11 and said, hey, this is what happens when we take the reins, or the people take their reins off the government and the corporations, and say, hey, I don't want to worry about it. I just want to go to the mall. I just want that new shiny thing. I want the bigger SUV. Maybe if we had that message in combination with the images, and we could look at those people jumping out of the building from afar. Like I said, I don't want to be able to identify a person individually. But if people sat down and said, fuck, in a weird way, I caused that. That's my goddamn fault. Due to my indifference, my ignorance, and my apathy. Then my question to you, Christine, would be, is that okay? 9/11, it's a tough one. It's a tough one. Especially in and or around 9/11. But I like your vid, and I like your style, and I'm subbed. And I look forward to seeing more of what you got. It's charged, it's moving. Keep doing what you do. And Jack, Heather, I ain't gotta say nothing. You're my girl. One of my best friends, and I'll tell Matt I'll be moving on to his videos soon, and I'm sure he's going to have some responses too, but yeah, I'm getting used to this whole vlogging with this camera thing, but hopefully it's coming back. So I got for now. Later. Peace. And remember, for those of you stumbling across this one, when you watch those planes hitting buildings, it's not what the talking heads tell you. It's not because Muslims hate Americans. It's because Americans, well, believe it or not, my friends, we've done some real nasty shit. Peace. That's the answer. Peace. Ciao.